Before time remembered its own name, there were silences so deep that even echoes feared to be born. From that silence came light, and from light came the endless tapestry of stars, planes, and living minds. But for every act of creation, there remained a memory of what came before, an unlit depth, older than the first heartbeat of a cosmos. It slept beneath thought and beneath the boundaries of universes, a pressure in the dark ocean no god dared to measure. In the DC multiverse, sages would later call it the great evil beast, the shadow that existed before the presence whispered, "Let there be." For eons the beast slumbered. Creation grew, worlds collided, civilizations rose and fell. The radiant throne of the presence watched and guided, but even the brightest lamp casts a shadow. With every new galaxy, the memory of nothingness strengthened. The beast did not dream. It simply was, a vast hunger where even the concept of hunger dissolved. The few prophets who sensed it returned to their bodies with eyes like burnt stars, mumbling of a void that smiled without mouth or face. Far beyond those heavens, in a different hierarchy of infinity, another darkness stirred. The Marvel omniverse was a garden of infinite branches, each universe its own story. At its highest pinnacle was the one above all, a love so absolute it shaped every reality. But love's reflection is loss, and where infinite creation blooms, infinite destruction must balance. Thus existed the one below all, a corrosive will festering in the below place, the sub-basement of eternity. It was hatred personified, a green-tinged abyss of rage and ruin. Gamma storms were its language, entropy its breath. When worlds died screaming, it fed. When the strongest hearts despaired, it sang. The one below all did not envy the living. It needed them, for only through their existence could it crush and devour. It corrupted champions, bent gods and whispered to monsters, but deep in the uncounted reaches of the omniverse, it began to sense a vibration unlike anything before, a quiet absence that was not merely death or decay, but a perfect negation of being itself. To the one below all, it was a challenge more intoxicating than any creation, a void beyond voids. The tremor reached the below place like a ripple of unlight. Reality shivered. The one below all extended a fragment of its endless shadow, probing past the walls of its Marvel domain, through gulfs of uncharted possibility. What it touched was not another universe, but something prior to universes, a dark ocean with no floor. There the great evil beast stirred, not from curiosity, but because the probing presence was something, and something was an insult. Within the source itself, the guardians of the universe felt it first. Lantern rings across sectors blinked erratically, reporting a silence so absolute that even the emotional spectrum dimmed. The Spectre, God's own vengeance, paused mid-judgment, his emerald eyes clouded by a pressure older than judgment itself. "The beast moves," he whispered, though no mortal heard. Simultaneously, in the Marvel continuum, the Living Tribunal faltered during its eternal watch. Its three faces, equity, necessity, vengeance, glimpsed a darkness they could not categorize. Eternity trembled like a candle flame. In the below place, the one below all laughed, a sound like rust tearing through infinite hulls. A feast it hissed, every syllable corroding the walls of reality. Worlds began to dream of the same nightmare, twin eclipses devouring the stars, one a pulsing gamma-green wound, the other an endless black so pure it swallowed thought. Mystics on both sides of the multiversal veil awoke screaming. They did not know it, but their terror forged the first bridge. Fear is a kind of energy, and energy is a kind of door. In that liminal nowhere, the great evil beast looked, though it had no eyes. Across infinity, it perceived the one below all, a storm of hatred in a prison of its own design. For the first time since the moment light was born, the beast recognized something other. It did not rage. It simply moved forward, erasing the imaginary line between here and there. The one below all surged upward to meet it. Green flares of corrosive power licked at the void, searching for form to corrupt. But the beast offered no form. It was pure absence, a darkness that unmade every particle that dared to exist in its path. Where the two touched, the multiverse howled, time's river boiled and rewound. Dead suns were born again only to die in the same instant. Celestials of Marvel and endless of DC felt the collision and fell silent. Even death, both the Marvel personification and the DC aspect, stood at the edge of their respective realities, unsure if they were about to be devoured or simply forgotten. And so the first meeting of supreme darkness began, not with a roar, but with a vanishing, a great subtraction of all that had ever been. The clash of these primal shadows would decide whether anything, light, life, or even the idea of nothing, could survive what was coming. There are battles that thunder across worlds, and there are battles that make the very idea of worlds irrelevant. When the great evil beast and the one below all finally met, existence itself became the battlefield. The first strike was not a blow but a corruption. From the bottomless pit of the below place, the one below all unleashed its essence, an emerald tidal wave of decay that crossed uncountable dimensions in a blink. Universes blistered where the wave passed, their laws of physics collapsing like paper in flame. Stars flared sickly green and imploded. Galaxies rotted in silence. The beast, however, was not matter to be corroded. It was the absence of matter. The wave slammed into nothingness and scattered like smoke in a vacuum. The great evil beast answered not with energy, but with erasure. Where its presence touched, even the below all's corruption ceased to be. The green tide recoiled, not consumed but unmade, as if it had never existed. Across the omniverse, watchers of every pantheon felt a sudden blankness, an impossible hole where reality had just been. For the first time, the one below all hesitated. Rage followed hesitation. It poured upward with infinite voices, a cacophony of every scream ever uttered, from the death cries of collapsing galaxies to the despair of lone mortals. Those screams became weapons, spires of sonic entropy, blades of screaming chaos, gamma lightning that split concept from concept. They lashed at the beast, clawing for a surface to infect. But the beast had no surface. Instead it moved, and its movement was subtraction. Whole constellations winked out like sparks in a black ocean. Timelines that had never been written bled into blank pages, yet for every void the beast created, the below all filled it with festering growth. Where nothingness fell, the green rot spread, twisting negation into a paradox of diseased being. For eons measured only by the deaths of multiverses, the two forces wrestled in that paradox. The clash birthed phenomena never known before, black novas of anti-light, storms of reverse time, rivers of living silence. Each strike erased and recreated realities faster than they could collapse. Beings far beyond mortals, living tribunal, endless destiny, even the Spectre were drawn like moths to a fire they could not comprehend. None dared intervene. To interfere was to risk being folded into nothing or unbeing. The one below all adapted. It stopped trying to corrupt the beast and instead tried to reshape it, weaving its hatred into the fabric of the void itself. For a heartbeat, the impossible happened. The beast's endless blackness flickered with a sickly green hue, a sign that even primordial nothing might be tainted. A triumphant roar shook the below place as the one below all surged, expanding its corruption through the crack it had forged. The beast responded with the closest thing it had to emotion, inevitability. Its darkness deepened past green, past black, past any color that minds could name. It reached beneath the below all's hatred to the faint glimmer that hatred requires existence to despise, and it began to erase that foundation. The one below all howled as its own necessity betrayed it. To destroy, it had always needed something. Without matter or soul, without even the idea of destruction had no target. The beast's void was that absence, infinite and patient. It did not rage or exult. It merely continued to unmake. The green corruption fought back with ferocity, birthing whole phantom realities just to have them devoured, desperate to keep the cycle of destruction alive. It hurled newborn stars like spears, raised titanic gamma avatars from the ashes of dead universes, each a caricature of existence meant to feed its endless hunger. The beast consumed them all without pause. Every weapon forged from existence was an offering to the void. At the heart of the clash, reality itself began to thin. Multiversal boundaries dissolved into a single endless plane of shadowed emerald and abyssal black. Time folded inward until past and future were identical, emotionless now. Observers across both Marvel and DC continuums felt their memories bleed away, because memories require a past and the past was being unmade. In a final desperate gambit, the one below all reached upward, calling to the infinite love of the one above all, seeking to merge with its other half and become totality. For an instant the omniverse brightened with impossible light as its plea echoed, but the one above all remained silent. Perhaps it understood that to answer would give the below all a foothold. Perhaps it trusted the balance to resolve itself. That silence was the turning point. The beast swelled not in size but in certainty, and unleashed a wave of perfect negation. No sound, no light, not even the idea of motion accompanied it. The green rot buckled, then frayed, then forgot itself. The below all shrieked, a final note of infinite rage, before its voice was swallowed by the ultimate quiet, and then stillness. The void stretched, absolute and complete. For a breathless eternity there was only the great evil beast, and beyond it, nothing. Slowly, like a tide ebbing, faint sparks of reality began to return. A star here, a timeline there. The beast allowed it. For all its unfathomable power, it was not mindless cruelty. It existed to balance the light, not to reign over it. Its victory was narrow, hard-won, and most dangerously entirely indifferent. Far across the rekindled multiverses, cosmic witnesses trembled. They would never know how close everything had come to final erasure. The great evil beast receded into the primordial dark once more, its hunger momentarily sated. The one below all, stripped of its form, lingered as a faint echo in the deepest cracks of reality, a whisper awaiting another age. The war of endless night was over. Creation endured, but only because nothingness had chosen to let it.